There, how are you doing today? So today I want to talk about the pillars of the soul. But before I get there, I want to remind you what the home of happiness is all about. You might recall we talked about 7 main areas according to Marcy Shimoff's model for Happy for No Reason. And these 7 areas contain the foundation, which is the 100% responsibility. It also has the pillar of the mind and the pillar of the heart and the pillar of the body. And it has a couple of other sections as well. We're talking about the roof of the house as well as the garden of the house. And today we're going to talk about the pillars of the soul, which is one of my favorite areas, actually. So when you try to connect to your soul, there are certain things that are required. And I'm going to share that with you in just a few minutes. So there are several ways of connecting to our soul. So many beautiful ways that we connect to our soul. And here are some of the ways. For example, meditation. Meditation is a really powerful way to connect to plug to your spirit. And of course, there are a lot of different types of meditations, and it's super important to find one that works for you. Now, you might have a few of them that work for you, and you might want to rotate them. Try one day, try another one the next day. Another way to connect to your soul is through prayer. Now, of course, this is not necessarily about a religious prayer, because sometimes speaking to a God is a prayer. That's what I do when I want to connect to my spirit. I want to connect to my God. I use prayer. I speak to my God, just like I would having a normal conversation. And that really helps me to connect to my spirit self as well. Now, another way is through silence. I want to share a little bit about silence with you. A few years ago, I went on a few silent retreats. So I did 2 full day silent retreats where I was the entire day in silence. Even though I was with other people, we were in silence most of the time. And of course, I went on a couple of weekend silent retreats. And I have to tell you, at first it was challenging. The very first one I went to was extremely challenging because, of course, I'm used to reading or I'm used to journaling. But these silent retreats were done in complete silences. And it allowed me to connect to my spirit. It really did. I do encourage you to consider doing that once in a while. So it's different than meditation. You know, sometimes when you're meditating, you might be focusing on an anchor of some sort. You might be focusing on your breath. You might be focusing on a word, for example. But when you're in silence, you're in silence. And it's so interesting because when you're in silence, you might notice the thoughts that come in and out. You might notice the sensations that you feel in your body. You might also hear the gentle voices that come through your spirit self. So that's the bonus of being in silence. A couple of other options too are great ways to connect to spirit, and that's being in nature. I love being in nature. I love walking in nature. I love being around trees and flowers. And when I walk in silence in nature, there's something magical that happens. It helps me to connect to my spirit self. So these are things that I do consider you trying once in a while. One of the things that I'm encouraging you to do, and we're going to practice that right now, is to spend time in this very moment. So what we're going to do is in a minute, I'm going to be quiet and we're going to focus simply on our breath. And what we're going to be doing is, of course, closing our eyes and simply breathing and simply noticing. So yes, it will be in silence, but I simply want you to notice what's happening. when you are in silence. So let's try that. I do invite you to close your eyes. And first, we're going to start with some nice deep breaths. And out. And let's try another nice deep breath. And out. And now for the next minute or so, we're simply going to be in silence. And when you're ready to do so, open your eyes. Now, this minute was simply being in silence. I could have said to you, pay attention to your breathing. I could have said, notice the sounds that are happening around you. I could have also asked you to open your eyes and to notice what you see around you as well. But in this particular case, we were simply in silence. And maybe you did hear a very gentle voice that spoke to you. So I do encourage you to continue spending time with your spirit self, spending time working on this pillar of the soul. Now, oftentimes, when we are in silence, we hear gentle messages, and then we know, we are connected with our soul. I'm going to leave you with this quotation. In the attitude of silence, the soul finds the path in a clearer light, and what is elusive and deceptive resolves itself into crystal clearness. Now, this is a quotation by Mahatma Gandhi. And on that note, I wanted to add to this video something that I think is fairly important and that you might want to consider. So we're talking about the pillars of the soul, connecting to our spirit. One thing that I do encourage you to consider is acting from inspiration. And there's a beautiful and really simple practice that you can do each morning to start your day. And it's called acting from inspiration. And this practice was adapted from a book and a teaching called A Course of Miracles. And in the morning, to get your day started, to get it started on the right track, ask yourself 3 questions as an intention or as a prayer. What would Spirit have me do today? What would Spirit have me do today? And you are in silence. Here's another question. What would Spirit have me say, and to whom today? What would Spirit have me go, or where would Spirit have me go today? Where would Spirit have me go today? So when you ask yourself those questions, and then you spend some time in silence, the answers will gently come to you. So what would Spirit have me do? And maybe Spirit is saying, connect with a friend. Where would Spirit have me go? You spend some time in silence. Maybe Spirit would tell me you need to go out in nature. So when you ask yourself those really spirit-filled questions. You tune into your spirit side. You'll hear some very gentle whispers. And this is how you can act from inspiration. Inspiration. So I encourage you to try this during the week and let me know how that goes. I can't wait to hear more about it. Take care. Bye-bye now.